Good evening, and welcome to the North Metro Mayors Association's Legislative Candidate Forum. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Lori Higgins. I am the moderator for the forum and the president of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce. The Metro North Chamber is a community partner of the North Metro Mayors Association. The North Metro Mayors Association was created in 1987 as a nonpartisan organization advocating for issues and opportunities of importance to the North suburban region of the Twin Cities. I would like to thank the North Metro Mayors Association for coordinating and sponsoring the forum, as well as the members of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce for partnering to make this event possible. Our goal in sponsoring tonight's Legislative Candidate Forum is to provide residents with an opportunity to learn about the candidates' ideas and positions on issues that we believe are important to the future of our communities. We will pose 4 prepared questions. Responses will be in rotating order with set time limits on their answers. I note that these limits are maximums and not minimums. We regret that we cannot cover all issues of interest tonight due to time constraints. Due to COVID health concerns, tonight's event is being held without a live audience. I am pleased to introduce the candidates with us tonight for Senate District 37, Jerry Newton and Brad Sanford. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Each candidate will now have 2 minutes for an introductory statement, and then we will get started with the questions. So first, we have Jerry Newton.
Thank you, Lori. I'm Jerry Newton. I'm running for re-election to the Minnesota Senate. My family settled in this district almost 60 years ago and established family-owned grocery stores in Blaine and Coon Rapids in 1963. I took over the family business in 1979 when I retired from the U.S. Army after having served for 23 years. I worked in the store 7 days a week, serving my customers and listening to their fears, their hopes, and their dreams. Many expressed views regarding local city politics, and I took their views to heart running for election to the Coon Rapids City Council. I served on the council until 2000, having secured the funding for the Main Street Bridge over Highway 10, thereby permitting the Riverdale project that Councilmember Jerry Wright and I brought forward to become a reality. I also created a rail safety crossing initiative that became a national model, ending the need for train horns to blow 3 times at each crossing in Coon Rapids. Following my terms on the City Council, I joined the Anoka-Hennepin School Board, where I served 8 years, during which I initiated the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math program, the STEM program, at Blaine High School and the highly rated baccalaureate program at Champlain Park High School. In 2008, I was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives, and in 2016 to the Minnesota Senate. In the legislature, I authored legislation to provide free public transportation for 100% disabled veterans, a bill providing for free breakfast for students from low-income families, and a bill for a new 100-bed facility at the Minneapolis Veterans Home. And I secured funding for improving and preserving the Coon Rapids Dam. In my time away from the legislature, I teach political science at Coon Rapids, at Anoka-Ramsey Community College.
Thank you, Jerry. Brad Sanford.
Hi, Brad Sanford. I live in Blaine. I am a community product as I graduated from Blaine High School. My wife and I and our 4 kids live in Blaine. I'm quite sure my wife is my better half, and my 4 kids are excellent young adults that are starting out on their life. For the last 26 years, I've spent my time helping businesses and individuals like you and I meeting their budgets, being able to grow their businesses, getting their kids funding for education, getting their next car financed, those kinds of things, helping them out with their budgets financially, those kinds of things, teaching financial literacy to high school students. My biggest pride is helping businesses grow. 64% of all new jobs come from small businesses, and so I've spent the last 26 years helping businesses meet their budgets, expand and grow and create more jobs for this area so that this area can grow. The North Suburban area is a wonderful area to raise a family, and it is an area that is growing substantially. Blaine has grown from 50,000 to close to 70 or a little over 70,000 in the last 10 years. So there's quite a few things that need to be taken care of, but we've enjoyed our time in Blaine, and we will continue to live here for a long time.
Thank you, Brad. At this time, we will go to our prepared questions. This will be done in a rotating order with a rebuttal opportunity. There is a 2-minute time limit for the answer, and after each candidate has answered, there will be a rebuttal opportunity with a 45-second time limit. Our first question is actually 2 parts. What are the top 1 or 2 issues you hear about while campaigning? And, if elected, what will you do to work in a collaborative way to address those issues? Jerry Newton.
Good, thank you again, Laurie. The one thing we all hear about at the door is the COVID-19 pandemic, and I get that on emails as well. People are worried about their families and their future. Some would like the restrictions imposed by Governor Walz's executive orders diminished, others want them increased. They worry about COVID and their children and their safety in daycare and schools, and whether they may become ill or fall behind in their studies. I assure them that our teachers and district administrators are doing all they can to ensure the safety and that they are keeping up with their studies. Parents also want relaxed rules so that they can freely attend and watch their children participate in sporting events at school. Residents are concerned about their parents and grandparents in nursing homes who they can't visit and hug, and their adult children who are first responders who work on the front lines. I worry about my daughter who works with COVID patients in an end-of-life care facility, another daughter who's a dental assistant and lacks PPE, and another who's a flight attendant, all of them working closely with individuals who may be infected. My family is no different than others, although I can empathize with those that I meet, and although I can't offer any solution other than to express my need for the speedy creation of effective vaccines and hope that everyone will avail themselves to it when it becomes available. The other prevalent issue that we hear at the door regards transportation and traffic in the North Metro area. Residents cite delays due to congestion, especially in the mornings and evening rush hours. And they also cite the needs for improved safety, especially on Highways 65, 10, and 47, where accidents are severe and all too frequent. Residents join me in expressing their gratitude for the police and other first responders and those who serve on the front lines. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will repeat the question. What are the top 1 or 2 issues you hear about while campaigning? And, if elected, what will you do to work in a collaborative way to address those issues? Brad Sanford.
Lori, at the doors, I've been hearing a lot about public safety. A lot of parents are afraid for their families with the riots in Minneapolis, of it leaking out to the communities. Compounding that with the fact that they're talking about defunding the police. The Democrats want to defund the police, and so that puts a lot of fears in families. It tells them that their leadership doesn't have their best interests in mind. And so that's one of the things that I hear. And as Jerry has said, it's very hard to hear those things from people at the doors. It's very hard to hear that they're afraid for their families. I think, that coupled with the threat of taking away your right to bear arms, I don't know how you would protect your family if the riots did come to your door. We need to be made sure that we have those abilities to, as American citizens, to continue to have that. Secondly, at the doors, I've been hearing a lot about teen mental health, and I've been bringing it up because it's a big issue to me. My oldest graduated 8 years ago, and in the last 8 years, she's lost 22 of her co-graduates to suicide. And when I heard that a year ago, that absolutely broke my heart. I mean, to think that people, the only answer they think they have is to take their own lives. So I can tell you without exception, everyone at the doors has, I have yet to have anyone tell me they have not experienced some form of that in their lives, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone they went to school with. Someone just lost their friend 4 weeks ago. They've been out of high school for 36 years. So very tragic. And so What I would plan to do is I would plan to work with a nonprofit and make sure that we address those issues and bring some relief to the kids and adults.
Thank you. And now an opportunity for a rebuttal, starting with Jerry Newton.
Well, I know that the fear and rioting is the Republican issue of the day. But in our area in Blaine and Coon Rapids, we have extremely good police forces led by Chief Wise and Chief Podani. And our neighborhoods are safe. There's no reason for us to be afraid of the types of things that happened in Minneapolis as a reaction to the George Floyd incident. And I agree with Brad on the need for working with our students in schools. In Blaine High School, I think we've had something like 7 suicides in the last year of school. It has to be worked with. And we do have an organization, NAMI, that we partner with in the legislature on suicide issues.
Thank you. Brad Sanford.
Well, I think that the riots leaking out, I think Jerry's forgetting about the problems we had at the Northtown Mall, which is Blaine, and so it is coming out to us. And so you can't say it's not a fear that the families have, and so that's one of those things I would say. Jerry mentioned the fact of funding for the schools and the COVID. And, I would just remind people that Jerry voted against giving the power back to the school districts and the parents and to decide what they wanted to do, whether they wanted to go back to school or not.
All right, thank you. We will now move on to our second question. What should be the role of the Metropolitan Council in guiding policy development in the North Metro? Brad Sanford.
So the Met Council was started in 1967 by the legislature, and it's the idea was that the Met Council would tell the legislature what they needed to do to make the cities work together, so the sewers and the waters and all that work together in the roads. And since then, the Met Council has kind of outgrown their britches. They are the only Met Council in the nation to have the ability, that is not an elected body. So they are just appointed. And this council is also a tax authority without representation by us, the people. So we're in violation right there of our rights as Americans. Inadvertently, the rules that they've made up have caused land values and the cost of building a home to go higher. And so the average price of a new home nowadays is, I just read online, is about $300,000. And that's out of this first-time home buyers market. And so those are the things that we probably want to take a look at. Met Council, I mean, they have their place, right? And I think if we can rein them in and have them give the legislature the advice and then let the legislature make the decision, that would be a much better approach.
Thank you, Brad. I will repeat the question. What should be the role of the Metropolitan Council in guiding policy development in the North Metro?
Thank
Jerry
you, Lori.
Newton.
The Met Council should continue to develop policy recommendations for the 7-county metropolitan area. However, this should be done in conjunction with locally elected officials in the League of Minnesota Cities. They're appointed officials, not elected. Therefore, they should not dictate how counties, cities, and communities within their jurisdiction make decisions, especially regarding urban planning. They should continue to plan for regional transportation needs, water quality, sewage treatment, and the funding of regional parks. And they should continue to provide information to local authorities and the legislature regarding population growth. I had the pleasure of serving on the Transportation Advisory Board to the Met Council while I was a member of the Coon Rapids City Council. And although the board was extremely effective, it was evident that the area covered should have been closer to a 13-county metro area stretching into Wisconsin. So there's a need to examine the council's area of jurisdiction as the metro urban area continues to expand. 2 years ago, I offered a bill that would have changed the appointment of the Met Council so that half the members would be appointed every second year for a 4-year term. Currently, all members are appointed by the governor for a 4-year term, and when the new governor is elected, the entire council is changed. The incoming governor appoints all the new members, most of whom are not familiar with the workings or responsibilities of the council. This means that for at least the first full year of their appointment, Met-Council staff runs the show and guides policy. Under my bill, there would have been continuity of operations regardless of who the governor was or what party he or she belonged to.
Thank you. And now an opportunity for a rebuttal, starting with Brad Sanford.
I'm going to rebut everything he just said. I think is accurate. The only thing I would take umbrage with is he wants to stretch it to 13 counties, which increases our taxes. That's the only thing I would really say.
All right, well, thank you. Jerry Newton.
If we had 13 counties, we've got 7 more counties or 6 more counties paying for it. So, but it's
At the same
point
rate,
is,
right?
Yeah, the point is that, you know, our transportation and things, it keeps expanding. And those of us that are in the 7-county metro area are paying for the expansion of the metro area into the counties that aren't in the district.
Well, thank you. That's a great segue into our third question, which is about transportation. So, question number 3. The North Metro Mayors Association works as a regional advocate for funding transportation needs in the North Metro region. What is your vision for how the North Metro can continue to compete for limited state resources crucial to providing efficient movement of goods and people in the region? Jerry Newton.
Thank you. For the past 24 years, I've worked closely with mayors, council members, and city managers of this area, especially but not exclusively on regional transportation needs. And for the past 3 years, I've worked very closely with the Minnesota Department of Transportation on developing plans to improve the traffic flow and accidents on Highway 65, 10, and 47. Additionally, I'm an active participant with the Anoka County Commissioners and separately with the cities of Ramsey and Anoka to eliminate traffic signals on Highway 10 in those cities to improve traffic flow. I work closely with lobbyists for Anoka County, the North Metro Mayors, the League of Minnesota Cities to secure transportation funding for our region. But the Highway 10 project does not increase traffic flow. It makes the location of businesses in the Anoka-Ramsey area more inviting. A few years ago, I carried a bill providing a large incentive for relocating an international business in Ramsey. After being stuck in traffic, the owners of the business decided to locate the building in Brooklyn Park on Highway 610, much more convenient location for them. The North Metro is finally getting the attention it needs when it comes to transportation funding. Working with the cities and North Metro mayors, I have a bill to design a bridge in Blaine on Highway 65 in 109th, another bill to improve highway circulation on 99th Avenue in Blaine and Highway 65. Additionally, I have a bill to add a third lane to Highway 10 between Hanson Boulevard and Round Lake Boulevard. I also co-author with Senator Jim Abler a bill for $47 million to redesign the Highway 10 in Ramsey. The short answer to competing for limited state transportation funds is to have legislators in place, such as myself and Senators Abler and Hoffman, who are friends and work across party lines to secure the funding that we need for transportation.
Thank you. I will repeat the question. The North Metro Mayors Association works as a regional advocate for funding transportation needs in the North Metro region. What is your vision for how the North Metro can continue to compete for limited state resources crucial to providing efficient movement of goods and people in the region? Brad Sanford.
Thanks, Laurie. You know, the Highway 65 is a huge project, and the survey that the DOT has done identifies 1/3 of the intersections in the state of the hotspots that are problems are on Highway 65 between 694 and just north of Main Street. There are so many intersections where there are vehicle-to-vehicle contact and sadly vehicle-to-pedestrian contacts that these things are hotspots that we need to take care of, and it's nice to hear that something is, a survey is being done and that they're looking at replacing that, but at what cost, right? We want to make sure we get the answer, and we want to get the answer correct, and we want to get it for the future. We want to take into consideration businesses in the area and how their trucks will be using the roads and making it for those people and for citizens to be able to get on and off the roads and get where they need to get without having those deadly interactions. I think how the North Metro, they've done it in the past. They have worked with local municipalities. They've worked with the state, and they've worked with the federal government to make sure that the biggest way that they've gotten their job done in the past projects is to let the legislators, like Jerry, know how severe and how definite they need those projects done in the area. If you don't bring it to their attention, they're never going to know how serious the issue is. And I've said this many times, your job as a senator is to be an ambassador and make sure that you work with those people to gain their support and get the funding that you need.
Thank you, Brad. And now an opportunity for a rebuttal from Jerry.
Yeah, I'm not going to rebut anything that Brad said, but the fact is that I've established a really good relationship with Senator Senjum, who's the chair of the bonding committee. And that's one of the things that we learned to do in the legislature, is to work across the aisle. Not everyone does it, but I found that those that are willing to work across the aisle and establish friendships and honesty with legislators from the opposing party manage to get things done. And that's why I've got some $90 million in projects in the existing Senate bonding bill, which also will be in the House bonding bill.
Thank you. Brad, chance for a rebuttal?
Not really a rebuttal, but the sad fact is that the majority are the ones that get to decide where the money goes, and my party is in the majority, and I plan on being part of that group that will make sure the projects go through.
Thank you. Your fourth and final question. Your community is part of not just a regional or national marketplace, but a global one that competes for business and talent on a global basis. What policies would you support to help retain and attract businesses and talent to the region? Brad Sanford.
So I've been on the front lines on this. I was a commercial lender at U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo for a long time. And we dealt with, when I covered the downtown branches, we dealt with a lot of international businesses that would come to Minneapolis. And I would just ask them, why come here? It's the frozen tundra. Why would you come here? But it's in the middle of the country, and we have a well-educated citizenry here that they love to tap from. It makes their business just take that leap forward, right? And so for this program, what I always hear from businesses, I always hear, we've got all these great jobs, but we don't have enough people applying. And what I hear from students when I'm going to the high schools and teaching financial literacy, I'm hearing, I got this degree, or, I want to go here and do this, but I don't know if I'm going to have a job when I get out of college. I'm going to have this big debt and I won't have a job. One of my ideas is to put the two together. I'd like to expand the PSEO program, have the kids, when they go to college, have them in their first or second semester intern in the position that they think they want to be in. And then when I was at those big businesses, if I took classes towards finance, towards banking, or any of those things, they would reimburse my expenses up to $5,000. So I'd like to have that program where the businesses, when the kids intern with them, they would invest back in the kids and give that money back directly towards their education bill.
Thank you, Brad. I'll repeat the question. Your community is part of not just a regional or national marketplace, but a global one that competes for business and talent on a global basis. What policies would you support to help retain and attract businesses and talent to the region? Jerry Newton.
Thank you, Laurie. As a member of the Coon Rapids Economic Development Commission, I worked with the local Chamber of Commerce and individual businesses to bring, among others, Green Bay Packaging, Vincent Metal, Frito-Lay, and other businesses to the Evergreen Business Park. With Councilmember Jerry Wright, I was a prime mover working with the Developers Diversified Corporation to build the Riverdale Shopping Center. I also authored a bill with Senator Hoffman that provided a subsidy to a Japanese corporation which located a large international business in Brooklyn Park. However, to attract additional local, national, and international companies to our area, we need to have a transportation infrastructure which allows for easy access for businesses to locate in our area. The completion of Highway 610 was an effective first step in this process. We also need a good mix of housing for employees of businesses to settle here. We have that. We have two of the best school districts in the state for educating children of new employees. We have 2 first-rate hospitals. We have Anoka Ramsey Community College, which offers 2- and 4-year programs of higher learning, and we have Anoka Technical College to train employees in businesses settling here. So as we solve the transportation issues, we will open up our communities to increase business activity, local, domestic, and international. I've outlined the work in the bills that I'm authorizing on Highway 65 and 10. What I've not mentioned is my 10 bills totaling almost $90 million that will be in the final bonding bill, providing over 450 good-paying Minnesota jobs in the North Metro area. They are in both the House and the Senate bills.
Thank you. And now an opportunity for a rebuttal, starting with Brad Sanford.
I don't think there's anything in there to rebut for Jerry. Jerry has done his job. He's looking to extend his term. I say, Jerry's a nice guy, but, after 30 years in politics, I think it's time for a change.
Thank you, Brad. And Jerry Newton.
Well, Brad's exaggerated my time in politics, and I think you're including the 8 years that I served in Vietnam and the Middle East in my elected office.
That's political warfare.
Yeah, and I don't dispute what Brad said, although he concentrates on Highway 65. And the point of it is that we need a good infrastructure, highway infrastructure, in order for businesses to locate here. We have everything else that goes with it. And without that infrastructure, it's not going to happen. So with the bills that we have moving now, and which I fully anticipate will be approved by tomorrow, we're well on our way to getting things ready for increased business locations.
Thank you. This is the end of our questions for this forum, and we will now go to the closing statements of our candidates. We are requesting 60 seconds max per candidate. First, we have Jerry Newton.
Thank you, Laurie. And thank you and the North Metro mayors for putting this on. I'm Senator Jerry Newton, and I seek your vote in November. I am a product of this area. I was born in Maple Grove, grew up in Crystal, attended Osseo High School, and I live in Coon Rapids. I've had businesses in Blaine and Coon Rapids, was a 25-year member of the Chamber of Commerce and the Central Minnesota Development Corporation. I was president of Free to Be, chair of the City of Anoka Human Rights Commission, member of the Legislative Commission of Environmental Legislators, longtime member of the Rotary, the Blaine VFW, the Coon Rapids Legion, and Disabled American Veterans. I know our communities well, having door-knocked every house in Coon Rapids, Anoka, Andover, Ham Lake, Blaine, and Spring Lake Park. I've also been to all 60 schools in our areas, listening to our teachers, administrators, and school boards. I've established good relations with the Anoka County Commissioners, mayors, council members, and city managers of all the communities in our area. But most importantly, I've listened to our residents and responded to their needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Sanford.
Thanks, Laurie. I think the choice is clear. After 26 years, I think you're right, I should have said 26, not 30 years in the legislature. Jerry put a bridge in Coon Rapids and redid a road in Coon Rapids and ignored this Highway 65 to allow it to get to 10 hotspots out of 30. I will always support the police, and I will always support your right to bear arms so you can protect your families. I ask for your vote simply because I think it's time for a change.
All right, thank you. Well, this brings us to the close of this round. We would like to thank our candidates, the North Metro Mayors Association, the City of Coon Rapids, CTN Cable TV staff, and the Metro North Chamber of Commerce for making tonight's event possible. Please remember to vote on or before Tuesday, November 3rd.